What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video, yet again, I'm going to be showcasing another triple Fury Cutter team in the Summer Cup with Galvantula, Barbarical, and Legacy Kabutops. A lot of you probably didn't even know this Pokemon learnt Fury Cutter. It is a Legacy move, and I've actually got a few of these from trades a while ago, as well as a Legacy Fury Cutter Nidoking. So let me know if you'd like to see the Nidoking in action at some point in the future. But for now, back to this team. Unfortunately, once again, I could not get Discharge on my Galvantula for the entire cup rotation. I have been trying, using lots of TMs on Galvantula, trying to get Discharge, but unfortunately, I've not been able to do so. I ended up with Cross Poison, and actually, I did get quite a few boosts, so it wasn't all bad, but just obviously not the moveset that I wanted to run. I'm using Barbarical as the safe swap with Kabutops as the closer, and similarly, I wanted to run Stone Edge for more devastating nuke potential, but again, my lack of TMs meant that I had to stick with Ancient Power, but oh well, it is what it is. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which buffed Great League Pokemon that you're unlikely to see featured on other channels would you like to see me showcase when the Great League returns later today? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, leading Galvantula into Shadow Victory Bell. So definitely where we need to see it with this team. We've got two Pokemon, double weak to the grass typing. I'm going to go and fire off a Lunge just before they reach a potential Sludge Bomb. Lunge, going to be no shielded. So at this point, I think I'm just going to shield the Galvantula. And actually, because I've got an ABB style team, I'm going to swap out into Barbarical, get a Fury Cutter, energy advantage into whatever they've got in the back, and they come in with a Jellicent. My thinking behind that swap was also, they've got a grass type in the lead. They hopefully don't have a second grass type in the back, and if they did, I do need to bait it out with my Barbarical. But either way, the opponent fires off a Shadow Ball, dealing big damage, but Barbarical able to hang on and reach a second Stone Edge. First one goes unshielded, the second one does grab a shield from the opponent, and at this point, I'm happy to let the Barbarical go down. Now, of course, since my Galvantula is not on Discharge, I don't think I can get a KO from this range with only resisted charge moves, so we're actually going to come in with the Kabutops, and I'm going to no-shield the first move. The opponent fires off the Surf there. Surf, we don't tank it that comfortably, but we do tank it. I'm going to go and fire off an Ancient Power just before they reach the next move, and the opponent uses their final shield. So at this point, I'm thinking, if they're using their shield here, they must have a Fire type in the back. So we're going to use the final shield. We can now fire off an Ancient Power. I don't need that much HP to take out a Fire type, and we also get the Ancient Power boost. That is huge for me, because now I can fire off the Water Pulse, and of course Water Pulse with that boost gets the one shot up against the Skeledirge, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG to opponent there into next battle. Going to see a Charizard in the lead. So once again, would be great if I had Discharge, but we're going to swap out into Barbarical, and we bait out a Heliolisk, which is not too bad considering we've got Cross Chop for coverage here. Cross Chop going to be shielded by the opponent, and at this point I'm expecting the opponent to go for a Parabolic Charge, but I'm actually going to shield this. They go for a Breaking Swipe instead, but they debuff my attack, so I realize Cross Chop isn't going to cut it anymore. We go for Stone Edge, but unfortunately the opponent does end up shielding, but Barbarical able to reach a last second Cross Chop here. They have of course debuffed my attack, so it does not get the KO, but it puts them into very comfortable Fury Cutter farm down range for the Galvantula. The opponent fires off another Breaking Swipe before swapping back into Charizard, so now we can come in with the Kabutops. Of course, but the worst thing they can throw here is a Dragon Claw, as everything else would be double resisted by the Water and Rock typing. We go for Ancient Power. Ancient Power gets the one shot there. They're going to come in with their final Pokemon, a second Electric type in Belly Bolt, but that's okay with me. We can go straight for the Water Pulse. Water Pulse does respectable damage there. The opponent not committing to the farm down there. I think maybe I would have reached an Ancient Power there. I'm actually not entirely sure. But either way, we can come back in with the Galvantula, and I could no-shield this, but we've still got a shield here. Might as well use my shield. The opponent is going to boost up their defense once again, but that's absolutely okay. We can go ahead, fire off the Lunge. Lunge gets the KO there, and the opponent does reach a last second charge move, but this should just be a Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe, we don't tank it comfortably, but we do tank it, and I'm able to take that game. So going into next battle, Galvantula into a Skeledirge. Of course, not ideal for me. We're going to swap into a Barbarical after staying in for a few Fury Cutters, and the opponent's going to come in with an Acid Credilli. Now, this is actually not that bad of a matchup at all, as we can go for Fury Cutters and Cross Chops, both hitting for super effective damage, and of course, we're also resisting their fast move damage. So this one, I'm going to shield. They're probably going to bait me with a Rock Tomb, and they do exactly that. However, we're still in an okay position here. I'm so spammy. We're already at back-to-back cross chops once again. So cross chop, gotta be no shielded, but I can just go for another cross chop immediately. And cross chop, gotta grab the final shield from the opponent. At this point, I need my Kabutops aligned to that Skeledirge. So the opponent is going to swap back into Skeledirge. I'm going to swap out there. I should be able to tank a Shadow Ball reasonably comfortably. The opponent fires off that Shadow Ball there. And we're going to go ahead and throw an Ancient Power on the CMP type with the Skeledirge. But unfortunately, it doesn't do that much damage. And as well, the opponent goes for Torch Song. Torch Song actually just puts me into perfect farm down range there. That is definitely not ideal for me in the slightest. So at this point, going to come back in with the Barbaracle. They've already got a Shadow Ball loaded and they're boosted. Shadow Ball gets the KO there. We come back in with the Galvantula and I'm forced to go for a Cross Poison. Cross Poison is resisted, but it gets the KO and we also get the boost, which is absolutely huge for me. I'm going to fire for lunge, but the opponent makes a perfect catch there. We overfarmed as well, but they catch perfectly at the exact time I throw the charge move, and that allows them to outpace me to this next charge move. Octazooka gets the KO, and unfortunately, I do lose that game, but a brilliant catch there from that trainer into the next battle. We're going to see Unova Stunfisk in the lead. So, of course, this is fine with me. Of course, I'm going to be resisting the fast move damage, and actually everything they throw will be super effective up against my backline. So, we're going to stay in with the Galvantula, fire off a Lunge here. Lunge is going to be no-shielded by the opponent before swapping into a Lapras. So, we're going to come in with the Barbaracle. Of course, Stone Edge is going to hit very hard. The opponent fires off the first charge move, going for Sparkling Aria there. And you can see we should just barely live a second Sparkling Aria. However, it would put us into farm down range. So, at this point, we grab a shield with the Stone Edge. I'm also going to match shields here, otherwise I think Sparkling Aria does get the KO from this range. We're now going to go for that Stone Edge immediately as we get there. And Stone Edge number 2, going to be no-shielded, but they hang on with 1 HP and a Dream and reach a last second Sparkling Aria. So I do end up losing switch advantage. The opponent comes in with a Talonflame, so we can come in with a Kabutops. And the opponent's staying in for whatever reason, I don't understand. Throwing a charge move and baiting with a Flame Charge, which does almost no damage whatsoever. We can now go for the Water Pulse. Water Pulse grabs the final shield, and I should be able to reach another Water Pulse before they reach back-to-back charge moves. The opponent recognizing that, and so they just concede the match. Heading into the next battle, we see a Shadow Tentacruel in the lead. Now, actually, I didn't have a great matchup there as I do not have Discharge, but the opponent swaps into a Shadow Typhlosion. Now, here you're going to see Kabutops is just not very good. You're going to see I double resist the Incinerates, but Thunder Punch does so much damage, it puts me into perfect farm down range before I even reach a second Ancient Power there. Of course, in hindsight, should have come in with the Barbaracle as we do tank the Thunder Punch a lot more comfortably than the Kabutops. But either way, that is pretty embarrassing for a Rock and Water type Pokemon to lose so badly up against a Typhlosion. But anyways, we're now going to fire off the Stone Edge. Cross Chop wouldn't quite get the KO from this range, and Stone Edge does take them out there. They're going to come back in with the Shadow Tentacruel, and at this point I'm already thinking, since they swapped out immediately, they've probably just got ABB double fire. So we swap into Galvantula, and there it is. They've got Skeledirge. My only win condition is getting like back-to-back cross poison boosts. First one, gonna be no shield, we don't get the boost, and so I'm just going to save the opponent some time and concede the match. But GG's top end there into next battle. We're going to see a Shadow Zapdos in the lead. And because we're on Cross Poison, I can actually just barely outpace them to the first charge. We've Cross Poison. Unfortunately, doesn't get a boost there. But at this point, I'm going to use my first shield. The opponent going to fire off the Drill Peck. And at this point, I'm going to swap, catch the next Drill Peck onto my Barbaracle here. So, of course, that's going to be resisted damage. Very nice for me. And we also bait out the Grass type, which we needed to do here. Kabutops absolutely useless up against Virizion. Cross Chop doesn't do much damage. I do throw straight away, which of course the opponent goes for an overfarm there, so it doesn't help me out that much, but we do throw a second cross chop on the CMP tie, so there's, I guess, something. They go for Leaf Blade there, so probably on Leaf Blade and Sacred Sword, which means we can come in with the Galvantula. I can overfarm here. I'm actually just going to go straight for the Cross Poison. Cross Poison grabs the shield, but we get the boost. So at this point, I'm definitely going to shield here, and they're actually on Stone Edge, so the opponent now comes in with their final Pokemon, a shiny Drampa, which is very cool to see. I don't think I've ever seen that before, but Lunge does huge damage. We get the Fury Cutter farm down. We can actually resist it. Fury Cutter farm down the Shadow Zapdos, and that's going to be game over. I'm farming up to back-to-back Cross Poisons, and at this point, the opponent probably just going to let the move go through. They do. It takes out Virizion, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into next battle, another Shadow Zapdos in the lead. So, going to play this out exactly the same as last time. Fire off the Cross Poison immediately, fishing for that boost. And then, of course, try to catch a second Drill Peck onto my Barbaracle. So Drill Peck number 1 coming through. We're going to try and swap out there, but we lag at the exact moment we try to swap. So I'm forced to stay in. I have to just no-shield this. I don't want to double shield there. At this point, not looking too ideal for me as we do take huge damage from that Drill Peck. They're going to come in with a Swampert. We're going to swap into a Barbaracle. And of course, Barbaracle does have access to Grass Knot. So we might grab a shield here up against the Swampert, and we do exactly that. But at this point, of course, revealing Cross Chop, it's unlikely in this meta to have Cross Chop and Grass Knot, so probably not going to grab a second shield here, but I'm already at back-to-back Cross Chops. The opponent did full send an Earthquake, so Cross Chop, going to be no-shielded. We do reach another Cross Chop before they get to that Earthquake. Cross Chop gets them very low. They actually bank the energy. They swap into Decidueye, and from this range, unfortunately, I think a Spirit Shackle will definitely get the KO there, so I lose all of that energy. I should have just thrown straight away. I think probably would have lost CMP anyways, but we're going to come in with the Kabutops. I don't know why I threw an alignment there. Not really sure what I'm doing. Ancient Power is actually going to get the boost, but unfortunately for me, I'm not able to catch a charge move. And of course, a Frenzy Plant, double super effective. It will very comfortably take out Kabutops, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up in there into next battle. See Virizion in the lead. So definitely where we want to see it. Their opponent's going to swap into a Lapras. And unfortunately, not having Discharge once again does not help me out here. But we're going to swap Catch the Move onto my Barbaracle here. I don't really know why I played that out like I did. Maybe I should have thrown a move. But then I realized, of course, Lapras probably just won't shield in that situation. Anyways, however, debuffing them with a Lunge would have been quite helpful for me, as it would allow me to live 2 Sparkling Arias very comfortably. But we do use 1 shield. We get the farm down there. They come back in with Virizion, and if they commit to a farm down, I should be able to reach back-to-back Cross Chops here, so not the worst thing ever. And of course, Galvantula does have some energy already loaded, so we're gonna go for Cross Chop number 2. The opponent is gonna no-shield. They then swap into Belly Bolt. I tried to reach a last-second Cross Chop. Unfortunately for me, it does not work out for me, but we're gonna come back in with the Galvantula, go straight for a Lunge. I'm gonna grab a shield from the opponent, and I can reach another Lunge before they throw their first Parabolic Charge. So Lunge number 2, gonna debuff their attack once again. I can now very comfortably tank this, and then I'm actually going to swap into my Kabutops here as I realize it's useless up against Virizion, but with a slight energy advantage, I'm able to reach the Ancient Power on the CMP tie. Ancient Power, well, okay, I guess not CMP, but either way, Ancient Power puts them into Fury Cutter farm down range. The opponent actually not on Leaf Blade this time around. At this point, of course, going to let Kabutops go down. We're going to come in with the Galvantula, get the Fury Cutter farm down, and this game is not over. They've banked a Parabolic Charge here. I don't know if I can get the KO with a Cross Poison, but we're going to fire off the first one here. Cross Poison is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and it's going to be a race, and we throw as late as possible, throwing on the CMP type, winning CMP, and Cross Poison does just barely get the KO there, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into next battle, Shadow Typhlosion in the lead. So, not ideal. Last time, of course, swapping into Kabutops and getting absolutely destroyed. So, we swap into Barbaracle here. Gonna have to no-shield this as the opponent does go for a Thunder Punch before swapping into Virizion. So, things go from bad to worse here. But once again, at least we are baiting up the Grass type with the Barbaracle. And again, able to reach back-to-back Cross Chops here before they can fully farm me down. But they do come out with a ton of loaded energy. If they're on Stone Edge, I probably just lose this game straight away. But we're going to come in with the Galvantula. I have to no-shield this. I have to save my shields for the Kabutops. Otherwise, Typhlosion will just completely destroy me. But we're able to reach a Cross Poison here. Cross Poison gets the KO. They come back in with the Typhlosion, and this time I'm definitely going to have to shield this, as the opponent is going to go ahead and fire off another Thunder Punch before swapping into a Bullet Seed Cradilly. Oh, that is so unfortunate. If they were on acid, honestly, we might have some play here. But unfortunately, Bullet Steed gonna hit for double super effective damage rather than resisted damage. They also get to the charge boost faster. They debuff my attack with the Rock Tomb. And once again, my only win condition here is gonna be if Galvantula can somehow get multiple cross poison boosts back to back. So we're gonna shield this. Of course, they debuff my attack there. They swap back into Typhlosion. I need to grab the shield with this cross poison, but it is not gonna be shielded there. We can reach another cross poison, but of course, at this point, the opponent will just be shielding. Cross poison does actually get the boost this time around, but it's too little too late. We come back in with Kabutops. We're on 1 HP and a Dream. Blast Burn for the BM, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But GG Suppo there into the next battle. We see a shiny Shadow Lapras in the lead, so very nice to see. We're going to stay in with the Galvantula, swap into Barbaracle, and the opponent swaps at the same time there into a Licky Licky. We're going to go for the Cross Chop here. Cross Chop is going to be no-shielded by the opponent, and they're actually going to farm up a ton. They farm up to a potential Solar Beam. I don't know what moves this Licky Licky could be running in this meta, so I do end up using a shield there. They actually just go for a Shadow Ball, which is fine with me. Go for another Cross Chop there, and we can reach yet another Cross Chop before the opponent throws their next charge move. Cross Chop grabs a shield from the opponent, and the opponent continues to overfarm. We reach yet another Cross Chop here, and Cross Chop is just going to be no shielded. The opponent recognizing they can't really double shield their Licky Licky, so they go down with, I think, over 100 energy, if I'm honest. We are going to commit to the Stone Edge, and the opponent swaps into a Belly Bolt, but that's absolutely fine with me. Stone Edge is going to connect. It does some decent damage, and Galvantula already loaded on energy. We can go straight for a Lunge. Lunge is going to be shielded by the opponent. I definitely do not need to shield this as the opponent goes for a Parabolic Charge, not doing much damage. I'm going to fire off another Lunge, but I realize it won't quite get the KO, so I'm actually going to undercharge this. And the opponent committing to a Zap Cannon. They don't even get there, and that is absolutely game over. And so the opponent just concedes the match. GG Suppo there into the next battle. We see a Shadow Scizor in the lead. So, of course, not ideal for me as they are going to resist everything on my Galvantula. Once again, wishing I had Discharge. But that's okay. We're going to fire off a Lunge here. And Lunge probably not going to be shielded. So I'm going to swap into my Barbaracle, of course, expecting them to have Trailblaze full coverage. I've debuffed their attack, but it doesn't matter. It's still going to do massive double super effective damage. So I end up shielding that up there. I'm going to overfarm a little bit. Fire off the Cross Chop. Cross Chop going to be no shielded as the opponent comes in with a Jellicent. So we're going to go straight for Stone Edge here. Stone Edge is going to be shielded by the Jellicent there. And at this point, committing to another Stone Edge, just barely not getting there in time. They fire off the Surf, we hang on, and I could have reached the Stone Edge, but I panic. I didn't know if I was going to get there, so I go for a Cross Chop, but I throw as I get the energy for the Stone Edge anyway, so huge mistake on my end. Should have just committed to it. We're able to make a catch. I don't know if this is actually going to help me, though. Shadow Ball, of course, taking out the Galvantula. We come back in with the Kabutops, and honestly, if I landed that Stone Edge, this Ancient Power will be enough damage to get the KO, and of course, I don't know what they've got in the back here, but if it's a fire type, then I should be looking really good with my Kabutops, but unfortunately, panicking, throwing that Cross Chop is set me up for failure. I have to no-shield there. Shadow Ball nearly gets the one-shot. One more Hex takes me out, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG Suppo there into the next battle. We see Virizion in the lead, and I'm going to go straight for a Cross Poison here. Cross Poison, of course, super effective, whilst Lunge is only neutral damage, and Cross Poison gets the boost. Absolutely huge for me. Now I'm going to shield. They farm up to the Stone Age. They full send it, and now we're committing to a full Fury Cutter farm down, and we get that farm down. As they're reaching that next Stone Edge, huge for me. Then I come in with a Shadow Typhlosion. I go for Cross Poison. Cross Poison grabs a shield, and now I'm actually going to go for a Lunge here, expecting to grab a shield anyways. Lunge does grab the shield, and I'm able to reach another Cross Poison. Galvantula putting in so much work. I'm now going to come in with the Barbaracle here, and the opponent, unless they're on Solar Beam, I should be able to tank whatever they throw here. The opponent actually goes for a Blast Burn for some reason. Don't really understand that play whatsoever. And they're now just going to concede the match. So potentially double fire in the back and basically just conceding there. But into the next battle, GG's to that opponent, by the way. Into the next battle, we see Venusaur in the lead. So once again, absolutely where we need to see it here. I'm going to go and fire off the Lunge. Lunge is going to be no-shielded by the opponent. And at this point, I am also going to no-shield. They fire off a Frenzy Plant bait there, absolutely fine with me. I'm now going to go straight for a second lunge, and lunge will be getting the KO from this range. The opponent not going to bother shielding. They come in with a Samurott, and I'm going for another lunge once again. Now, of course, we don't have access to discharge. The opponent does not know that, and they end up shielding. We debuff their attack. We come in with the Barbarical, and I'm going to no-shield the first move here as they fire off the Hydro Cannon. And whilst I can tank the next move here, it's not going to be super comfortable, so I'm actually going to shield this. I'm now going to overfarm with the Barbarical, not by too much here, but fire off a Stone Edge, and Stone Edge gets the KO there. They come in with their final Pokemon, a Greninja, and because we overfarm, I'm able to outpace them to the Cross Chop. Cross Chop, going to grab the final shield from the opponent. And at this point, I'm obviously going to save my shield for my Kabutops. The opponent fires off a Night Slash. That does not get the KO. We come in with the Kabutops, dealing big damage with the Fury Cutters. And the opponent just concedes the match. So, GG's up on their into next battle. See Credilli in the lead. So, they are on Bullet Seed once again. So, I don't know if Bullet Seed is just the more popular fast move to run at this stage in the meta. Either way, it doesn't really matter. We're going to go straight for a lunge here, winning CMP. I could now tank a Rock Tomb reasonably comfortably here, but I am going to shield anyways. And again, not having Discharge is costly in this matchup. I would love to just go straight for a Discharge and then swap into Barbarical, but we debuff their attack. They actually do no shield that. It doesn't do much damage. We're going to come in with the Barbarical, of course, no shield there as we have debuffed them. Fire off a Stone Edge, and Stone Edge is going to do substantial damage in this matchup. I don't know if I can Fury Cutter farm them down, but the opponent fires off a second Scald before swapping back into their Credilli, and they debuff my attack as well. So, not ideal for me, but I do reach a Cross Chop. Cross Chop grabs the shield back from the opponent. At this point, I'm just going to save my final shield for my Kabutops, and hopefully we can sweep in the end game. Rock Tomb doesn't quite get the KO there, but they've got a second Grass type in Virizion, and I realize there's just nothing I can do there, so instantly I'm going to concede the match. But GG's to the opponent there into next battle, Battle of the Fury Cutter users in Golisopod versus Galvantula, and again, not having access to Discharge means I have to go for lunge here, but we might grab a shield anyways, as Golisopod, not the bulkiest Pokemon ever. We do grab the shield, we're going to swap into Barbarical, and now I've debuffed their attack. I can tank this pretty comfortably as they fire off the Arco Jet. I'm now going to overfarm, fire off the Stone Edge here. Stone Edge will very comfortably get the KO from this range, and the opponent is going to no shield. They now come in with a Shadow Electivire, so Crazy Spies, we're going for the Cross Chop. Cross Chop grabs the final shield, and the opponent is forced to throw. They can probably actually just settle for an Ice Punch from this range, and they do exactly that. But we've got a 2-shield advantage, and we've got our Kabutops, so definitely just going to shield this up here. The opponent, once again, goes for an Ice Punch bait there. I don't really care. I just want to get rid of this thing, so we're going to go straight for the Ancient Power. Ancient Power gets the KO, and their final Pokemon is going to be a Galvantula. Unfortunately, losing CMP with the Kabutops, but it doesn't matter. Discharge, gonna grab my final shield. We can now fire off the Ancient Power. Ancient Power, not the best move, but it does big damage. We get the Fury Cutter farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on that into the next battle. We see Typhlosion in the lead once again. So, once again, going to stay in initially, swap into Barbarical. And this time it is actually a non-shadow. So, that Thunder Punch wouldn't do too much damage. But we are taking huge damage from this Venusaur. We go for Stone Edge. It does connect. And they do overfarm, allowing me to reach a Cross Shot. Probably going to grab a shield here. And it does exactly that. But the opponent committing to a very aggressive Vine Whip farm down there, coming out with tons of loaded energy. I'm going to come back in with the Galvantula, and I'm just going to no-shield everything. The opponent needs 2 Charge Boosts to take me out here, but they actually go for a Frenzy Plant bait there. Definitely don't mind that. They, again, go for a Frenzy Plant. Don't really understand why, but we're going to bank a Cross Poison, swap into Kabutops, and their final Pokemon is going to be for Alligator. So this is definitely where I wish I was on Stone Edge, because Ancient Power just not going to cut it in this matchup. These Fury Cutters are adding up over time, but they are non-stab. So Ancient Power not going to be shielded by the opponent. We do throw on CMP here, winning CMP. Ancient Power grabs the final shield from the opponent. But at this point, I'm expecting the opponent to swap out at any point in time here. So I've got to be careful. But the opponent does not swap, so I'm able to make the catch there. Catching a Hydro Cannon onto my Galvantula. The opponent going to come back in with their Typhlosion. And I can reach an Ancient Power. But because it's non-shadow, they're able to tank it. Reach a last-second Blast Burn for whatever reason, going for the BM. And they're still able to Incinerate farm me down there. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG still playing there into the final battle of this video, leading into a shiny Trevenant. So we are going to outpace them just barely to that first charge move. Going to go ahead and fire off the lunge. Lunge going to be no shielded. At this point, I'm still going to shield even though I've just debuffed their attack here. And the opponent's going to swap into Skeledirge. We can come in with the Barbaracle and of course, double resisting the Incinerate damage. I'm going to no shield the first move. They fire off a Torch Song bait there. Definitely don't mind that. Now we're going to go for a Stone Edge straight away. It's very risky to bait with a cross shot, but Stone Edge grabs the shield there. Gonna shield again, and they do full send the Shadow Ball this time around. We're now going to overfarm massively in this matchup. Fire off the Stone Edge. Stone Edge is going to be no shielded, and it actually puts them into Fury Cutter farm down range, which is very nice. Let's see what the opponent wants to do here. They are going to come in with a Swampert, so of course, not on the Grass Knot, but it doesn't really matter too much as Cross Chop is going to be very spammy. We reach a second Cross Chop already. Cross Chop number 2, gonna be no shielded once again, and the opponent is forced to throw a Charge Move here. They cannot Mud Shot farm me down. Hydro Cannon gets the KO there. We're still quite healthy on our Galvantula, but I'm going to come in with my Kabutops, force the opponent to full send an Earthquake. This is not going to be enough damage to get the KO, and expect the opponent to swap out straight away. So we swap into our Galvantula. Gonna fire off the Cross Poison here. Cross Poison either grabs the final shield, or it just gets the KO, and once again, getting a boost. We commit to the Fury Cutter farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.